Segway.
Muy bueno el auto. Muy difícil, era un juego muy frustrante. Me acuerdo que, al igual que Prince of Persia, para terminarlo tenías que estar dotado de una gran habilidad y paciencia. El juego requería por momentos resolver situaciones muy complejas, ¿viste? Bueno, bueno, ya tenemos todo configurado. Se ve lindo, ¿eh? Va a estar bueno mañana. Bueno, mañana la CEPOC.
To play last epoch. I want to talk about my league start plans for the season 2 Tombs of the Erased, and I'm getting real pumped about Void Knight and specifically the new changes they've done to Time Rot as a dot build combined with the new Devouring Orb. Check out this change they did to Devouring Orb. It got me freaking pumped.
Including a node that instantly casts it for you whenever you move. No more numlock needed, and no.
So in other words, this skill Devouring Orb, this cool looking purple orb, now has a node that you can click to essentially automate it to just shoot around while you map. So you'll see it's just instantly casting here
every time it casts.
And then it's inflicting damage. And that to me looks like a lot of fun. I am a big Righteous Fire automated sort of like radius damage type of build. I love that sort of thing. And the Void Knight's aesthetics, like just the cool purple orbs and just dashing around and having things echo and stuff like that, it's pretty dang fun. Combine that with the fact Time Rot got some pretty big buffs, I think it'll be a good time. Whether or not it's going to be good, I don't really know. I'm just kind of winging it. As you may all know, I'm not necessarily a last epoch main, but I've played it, I want to say usually like every other season, roughly thereabouts, maybe a little bit longer in gaps depending on how far back we go. But every time I usually have quite a bit of fun, and generally speaking, it's pretty forgiving. Even if you do make build mistakes, it's pretty easy to respec and change as you go along. My general plan is to have the Devouring Orb automated. That's with this node here, Abyssal Rush, auto cast while you're moving. And basically, we're just going to be dashing around, having our orbs get automatically cast for us, while also looking at casting Smite for single target in terms of applying the best possible Time Rot debuff possible. The thing about Time Rot and the biggest rework that happened to it is, number one, you can prolif it. So let's say you inflict it on an enemy, it will kill that enemy and then prolif to the enemies next to it, which is huge for clear. But not only that, you can also have a ton of damage multipliers for it based on your chance to inflict slow, your chance to inflict Time Rot in general, and if you invest into attack and cast speed, it looks like that also is a multiplier with this Rot Grip node. It does require you to be a Void Knight, as the important node Rot Grip, which is basically all your damage scaling, is after that 25 points. But the thing is, Void Knight has some really strong nodes in the back here. For example, Abyssal Fluctuation gives 20% less Void damage taken, and it allows you to take elemental damage as Void, which is pretty cool. So it has some damage taken as stuff going on, as well as quite a bit of DR through block, through armor. Sentinel, just as a base class, has a lot of pretty free defenses. In this game, you can also leech with your damage over time, so we'll have very high uptime on our Time Rots on the enemy, leeching to us. Ultimately, late game, we could probably drop this node if we get Void Leech somewhere else, but that's the sort of thing we're going with. That's the angle. On top of all of that, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the skill choice. First of all, I have chosen to go with Devouring Orbs as an automated, just this cast while we map and inflicts as we run past enemies. It has some multiplier, 60% more here, along with Time Rot chance, along with some Void Pen, a little bit more multipliers here, and the ability to get a bunch of extra Void Res, Shred, and Slow chance. This is my current setup of what I think I'll go for on the tree. I don't think this is the best multiplier in terms of inflicting Time Rot, because Time Rot can have multipliers based on the skill that inflicts it, and technically we could go all consuming, which would be maybe one of the biggest multipliers you could get on Time Rot, but I think that will kill the quality of life, so I'm not convinced I want to do all consuming. I'm more thinking about doing Smite for our single target when we get to a chunkier rare. This 250% more damage probably is our best Time Rot inflictor. I'll be toying around with other things. Ultimately, if I can get Devouring Orb to deal more consistent damage or be competitive with Smite, maybe I'll try different things out. But right now, I'm thinking Devouring Orb, running around maps, just having that circling orb, prolifing Time Rots, just killing enemies as I walk by. And then when we get to tankier rares, go in and proc some Smites to do Time Rots.
Hola. Hola. Ahí va. Quedó como medio... Perdón, con un mosquito.
As well. On top of that, we had Volatile Reversal, which I'm going to use primarily as a buff / travel skill with the node over. Oh, I need to spec this node. I forgot to grab it. There is a node you can spec right here, which basically makes it so it never goes backwards. So whenever you're using the skill, you're always going forwards. And then on top of that, we're going to go for the very high cooldown, so it's much more often that we can cast it. This kills a bit of our travel distance, but the upgrade is we can get what should be pretty much close to permanent haste duration and good duration on armor applying to dots, as well as good duration on frenzy for some extra basically speed during maps and moving around. So that's my thought process there. I want to be a really fast just walking around build, so we're getting permanent haste through Volatile Reversal, as well as technically it guarantees some echoes on our next proc. So every time I cast this, it's guaranteeing an echo, and that should work with our auto cast of Devouring Orb. As far as I've been told, now this could be baloney, I was told by people in chat that if I have Immutable Past, these buff nodes will work, even though we're not going to go reverse backwards. Obviously, I'm going to have to test in-game to verify, but they said they got their information verified by asking some people around. I don't really know if that's true or not, but that's what we're looking at. Volatile Reversal as a travel / buff skill. Then we have Abyssal Echoes, which is primarily a damage multiplier skill. With Abyssal Echoes, you can inflict Abyssal Decay, and you can make enemies take increased damage over time. You can also get additional time rot chance, as well as more damage versus blinded enemies, and you inflict blind through, you can get blind chance on smite, and I think Abyssal Echoes with this might inflict blind as well, but I'm not 100% sure. On top of that, we also have the Abyssal Decay basically prolifting around in order to make sure that all these enemies are taking this large debuff to take increased damage over time. And yeah, this says blinds, so it should be inflicting blind as well, and we should have that fine. And then last but not least, obviously the skill you see in pretty much every Sentinel build, Symbols of Hope, is just super OP for a passive buff, and we're going to be using it for percent damage, block, some endurance threshold, as well as a bit of, if you get gem levels on your relic, potentially you could get even more percent damage as well. That's just really good passive benefits. That's the plan for the skills. You can flame me if this is a stupid way to set up a Sentinel, but this is the way I came up with, and we'll see how it goes. As for gearing, we're going to take advantage of the new set affixes. My thought process was the Forgotten Void Knight set gives us good Void Pen with Time Rot. It gives us damage multiplier with Time Rot. And all we have to do is basically seal some low-level affixes of the set affix shards, which will allow us to grab the set bonus, which pairs pretty nicely with basically a rare shield, a rare weapon, and a rare amulet. The thought process is on pretty much everywhere we can get it, we want percent damage, chance to slow, chance to inflict time rot, because those are our main damage multipliers. So for example, on the sword, we'll go for the base that has the percent damage over time. We'll try to get a high tier of void damage. We'll get a high tier of percent damage over time, chance to inflict slow, void pen, and of course, the mod that also inflicts haste for 1 second on hit. Late game, potentially this could give us good haste uptime without needing haste anywhere else. But for right now, I'm thinking haste through the Volatile Reversal makes sense. After that, on our other affixes, throughout the gearing, we'll do fun things like, for example, this Great Helm, this Sentinel base, pretty much just gets you crit immune with one low tier sealed affix.
Bueno, ya dicen ahí en los comentarios que puede tener algunos errores la build. Vamos a seguir buscando. De todas maneras, ya tiene un concepto y ya... No, a nosotros nos interesa un concepto similar.
All right, hello and welcome to a build guide for Echo Void Knight Warpath. Now, you probably haven't seen me in a little bit, and I apologize. I took some time off and just realized that I haven't put a video out since like July, which is a long time to not put a video out. But season 2 of Last Epoch is here. I am back. I'm back streaming, and I'm going to be putting out some videos. I don't promise to put them out as much as I was, because that was a lot of videos. But some videos are, yeah, I'll blame the algorithm. That's a good idea. It's the algorithm's fault. I actually put them out and they just got lost. But no, in all seriousness, we will be putting out some videos now. I am streaming pretty regularly again. We're super hyped about Season 2, and I'm going to show you all the build I'm going to be starting with and probably trying to kill Uber Aberoth with, well, a version of it. So it's the Echo Void Knight Warpath. Let me also talk about Max Roll. So I'm still with Max Roll. I am doing most of the resource guides for them, but I have stepped away from build guides, at least for now, possibly permanently. I don't know yet, but I have stepped away from for time reasons, which means that there is a Warpath guide on Max Roll, but it is not one that I have made. It is made by Volca, and it is an excellent guide, and it's going to be really good, especially at this super, like, the late game push. It's going to be excellent at killing Uber Aberoth. In fact, for Uber Aberoth, I will very likely be changing to his guide.
Okay.
However, for the way that I like to play, I've chosen something a little different. I like to go fast. I like to have really high clear speed. His build has a lot of investment before it gets really up and running, and so I don't feel like it would be good for me earlier. So this is what I'm going to make, and for anyone who also feels like they fit into that realm, this could be a good place for you to start and then go into Volcas. But you can also absolutely go into Volcas like as soon as, like, I think it's 70 or something, and do it that way. Mine will also come with a leveling section, and I will be putting out a leveling guide video probably like an hour after this one. So you can take this one from quote unquote 0 to hero if you want to. You can start with the leveling section here, and then you can go all the way through, play us to 100, play us. You can probably kill Uber Aberoth with this, but I do recommend, if you're going to try to do like deep 1,000+ corruption, Uber Aberoth type stuff, Volcas is going to be better for that. But for everything else, if this is what interests you, let's talk about what it is. So, you may already know about my Echo Warpath Void Knight build that has been in Max Roll for, well, as long as we've had build guides on there. This is very similar. This is the updated version. So it's going to do the things that build did, but better. So I should have some footage on here. This is footage, old footage, because CT.
Vamos a comentar con los pibes acá. Buenas.
Hola Pablo.
¿Cómo andás? Trelion. ¿Ya decidiste qué build vas a jugar mañana?
Para un cachito que estoy peleando contra... Ahora te digo. Sí, ya decidí.
Ok, tranquilo. Juega.
T footage is not released yet, so I can't show you what it looks like right now. Know that it looks very similar with more prettiness. It's got more stuff going on. It's got some new skills in it they couldn't use before. Devouring Orb is in it now. One version of it has Abyssal Echoes. It had easy access Symbols of Hope now, which used to be Sigils of Hope. And there's a lot more purple explosions that go on. So it's a prettier build than it was. It was already fairly pretty. So if you like pretty builds, this, especially if it's purple, if you like purple, this is going to be right up your alley. But let's actually talk about what the build is, what it does, and how to set it up. So this is the end game leveling video. Go check that out if you want that.
La puta
But
madre.
what we are going to
Sí, voy a jugar una build de Body Knight.
Sí, yo también. Esta la de Echo Warpath. Una que vas dando vueltas con un arma de 2 manos.
Exactamente.
Ah, mira, yo me elegí la misma. Acá, McFluffin Gaming se llama el tipo. Está en Max Roll. La guía.
Yo la saqué de la página de las Epoch Tools.
Mirá.
Elegí Body Night porque vi que hay varias builds como para hacerse, o sea,
Que le hicieron un
entonces,
rework a la habilidad, la principal del Void Knight, ¿no? Que era la bola esa que gira alrededor tuyo. Que ahora es automática cuando usas una habilidad de movimiento y genera daño overtime que se puede lichear como vida y esto como que tiene sustain, tiene un montón de resistencias, la ascendencia también, va, la especificación de Void Knight. Podés transformar al final el Elemental Damage a Void y te da Void Resistant capeado en 80 y pico, no sé, te pones retanque, está re buena la build. La verdad que va a estar bueno. El single target también, viste, va a tener buen single target con Smite o alguna de esas habilidades tipo OP y GG. Rápido para mapear, tanque y matar bosses. Estuve viendo también que agregaron unos nuevos monstruos tipo campeones con más afijos y digo más sí, modificadores. Va a estar bueno el ACPOC.
sí.
Yo no estaba tan entusiasmado, viste que hoy al mediodía dije, no, yo quiero seguir jugando PoE 2. Y hoy vi de vuelta el video y la verdad que mañana puede ser una gran temporada, ¿no? De la CEPOC.
Sí, sí.
Going to be doing is Warpath, in which this is a permanent Warpath setup. It's where you can stay in Warpath mostly all the time, with one exception. If you want to traverse areas where there are no enemies faster, you can void cleave through them. You don't have to. It's just I find it to be a little bit faster, and this build isn't as reliant on staying in that echo setup that it was before, where like you really could not stop spinning in Warpath because you'd lose too much. It is a little risky to do that if you're at like higher corruption. So this is very much a play it as you feel like you can to use Void Cleave, but it's got some benefits. It does a decent little bit of damage itself, and it definitely is faster than just going straight Warpath. But Warpath will be the majority of what you're doing. You're just going to spin. You literally spin to win. This is set up to be spin to win with minimal.
Claro, Warpath es la habilidad que voy a usar. Es una que das unas vueltas con un arma de 2 manos. Todo el tiempo. Es como ir jugando un bárbaro que hace Whirlwind.
Minimal buttons. If you want to have a casual time, but still be able to do high level content. If you like just be like chill and kill, loot. I mean, it's hard to beat Warpath. So the setup gives us lots of channel cost reduction. So we're actually at 0, and you can actually gain mana while you're in it now. We take speed. We take the hit damage per timer is the #1 thing that really gets it going. And then we also take Whirling Steel, and we use a two-hander, so we've got double multipliers, and we are going to get some crit chance as well.
Sí, yo terminé de decidir hace un rato. O sea, empezar la voy a empezar. Después, ¿qué voy a jugar? O sea, voy a ir alternando entre uno y el otro. Pero mañana la arranco.
¿Qué vas a jugar? ¿Seguir jugando PoE también y vas a jugar la CEPOC?
¿Sí?
Uy, una doble vida, Trelion. ¿Estás preparado?
¿Cómo?
¿Una doble vida? ¿Estás preparado?
Sí. Ahora estoy podrido de jugar la CEPO. De PoE, digo. Estoy jugando de las 8 de la mañana.
Que jugás demasiado. Yo jugué un par de horitas, después miré las noticias, después hice un par de laburos, hice un par de cosas, después volví, jugué un par de horitas más, después miré videos de la CEPOC y juego de a mini cuotas, ¿viste? Porque primero porque me matan cosas random y si jugás mucho morís más y cuanto menos muera más divertido es el juego y cuando muero como que la diversión se apaga y dejo de jugar y eso y aparte que tampoco hay mucho para hacer, ¿viste? En el juego. Está como medio. No es una temporada, ¿viste? Que vos decís, unas mecánicas, no sé qué. Todo medio. Medio vainilla, ¿viste? Está bueno igual lo que están haciendo, me parece. Yo tengo experiencia dentro de todo agradable con el juego. Me gustaría. Me gustaría que lo balanceen un poco para que sea un poco más fácil, un poquito más fácil. Pero después me parece que está bien.
Los jefes están complicados.
Sí,
Recién quise matar al tercer jefe de brecha.
sí.
Estaba salado, salado.
Esos te tocan y te matan, Trelion. Fíjate. Y sí, al principio vas con Smite, Cooldown y Armor. Mucho Armor. Fuerza, full fuerza. Los primeros 10 niveles. Después Conviction, que te da Fire Damage, Physical Damage, Physical Penetration, Fire Penetration. Al principio vas todo con Fire, porque vas con Smite y Chance to Ignite.
Qué loco que de tantas builds justo enganchamos la misma, ¿no?
Sí.
Hay re pocas probabilidades de que pase eso.
Pasa que yo venía jugando la de Acolite en la temporada anterior y en la anterior jugué la de la que vas con el pajarito, ¿cómo es que se llama? Falconeer. Y, y el Boy Knight fue el segundo personaje que me armé y el juego estaba en Early Access, estaba medio mocho, ¿viste? Y como en la temporada pasada ya había jugado, había elegido otro que era nuevo y no sé qué, me había quedado ganas de jugar Boy Knight. Así que estaba entre Boy Knight y la Ranger. Bueno, no sé cómo se llama la Ranger acá, pero sí, esa es la del arquito. Que de hecho la vendieron bien. Tiene una habilidad, viste, que va rebotando, que va a la flecha, tiene probabilidad de rebotar y pegarle a otro enemigo y que va rebotando de uno a otro. Buenísimo, buenísimo. Y se estaquea eso en el gear y tenés un comportamiento más que agregar a tus habilidades. Es buenísimo. A mí me encantó, aparte se veía re lindo. Pero bueno, ganó el Boy Knight. Porque es más fácil, ¿viste? Y cuando empezás, siempre me imagino jugar de arco y todo eso. Para jugar en game necesitas un montón de plata, una build re cara. Todo sale millones de dólares. Y el Boy Knight capaz que hace todo el contenido solo con 2 pesos con 50 porque es reworkeado. Eso quiere decir que va a tener más daño y... Y aparte ya por la naturaleza del personaje, que es como un bárbaro, viste, que es como un paladín, como un medio un personaje en base de fuerza, escudo y todo eso, vas a ser bastante tanque y eso me genera como para build start, me genera como más tranquilidad, viste, porque lo peor que hay es tener una build que hasta que no sos millonario te moriste 300 veces. Es una experiencia de mierda para el jugador. Holy Icon. Increase Healing, Necrotic Defense y Health. Después vamos todo con el Void Knight. Volatile Reversal es la habilidad que reworkearon. Es la que yo usaba. Yo me hice una build alrededor de esto también. Es la que volvés para atrás en el tiempo. Que ahora en vez de ir para atrás va para adelante. Vos te desplazás como una especie de Cooling Strike. No, como una especie de, de Flicker Strike. Te volás a los enemigos. Y después la habilidad te podés volver para atrás. O sea que la usás para engagear en vez que para desengagear. Me parece que va a estar bueno para mi build porque voy dando vueltas es con el arma y me teletransporto arriba de los enemigos y me vuelvo para atrás. Los hago poronga de esa manera. Devouring Blade, Increase Damage. Después, War Eater, Void Leech as Hell. Y vamos con Abyssal Endurance, que nos da Void Resistance. ¿Ves lo que yo te decía? La ascendencia del Void Knight ya te empieza a dar resistencias. Physical Resistance 20%, 40 de Health. Te vas haciendo más tanque. Todo eso igual son 20, 40 niveles son de Sentinel primero 20 y después Paladin son 20 también. Eso también lo reworkearon, ¿no? El de los símbolos. Este Symbol of Hope. Dice, cada 2 segundos sumonías un símbolo que orbita alrededor tuyo. causando spell damage. Ah, no. Fire damage. Generación de vida. Ah, ok. Qué lástima que no está abierto el servidor, porque estaría bueno practicar un poquito. Pero recién me quise conectar y me dice que no. Que vuelva en otro momento.
Then the other skills that we have Symbols of Hope, which is just amazing now. It used to be awful. If you use Sigils of Hope before and you're like, I'm not going to use that, trust me, it's nothing like that. Now it just actively summons the symbols for you, and you just get the buffs, and you don't have to do anything. Like, you can press a button and get some defensive buffs and lose the offensive buffs if you want to, but you don't actually have to do anything. It's just going to...
Ok, lo que dice acá es que la skill ahora funciona de una manera automática. Vos cargas los símbolos de manera automática y eso te va dando un buff permanente. O sea, es como un aura del PoE sería. Vos invertís 20 puntos en eso y eso te va dando un buff permanente para vos y tus aliados. Que es daño de fuego. Te vas casteando como unos rayos que causan daño de fuego a melee y te va recuperando vida. 20% de recuperación de vida gratis. Permanente. Se está activa la habilidad. Está muy bueno.
Gonna buff the hell out of your character. You're gonna get empowering symbols, which is 25% more damage per symbol, or excuse me, increased. That's a big distinction.
Claro, y después cuando le pones en la especificación de la habilidad, viste que cada habilidad tiene como un árbol. Vos podés ir a Empower and Symbol, que te dice que por cada símbolo que vos tenés en tu personaje, vas teniendo más 25% de damage porcentual, multiplicativo. Y eso obviamente es como si fuesen las cargas de Frenzy Charge sería, ¿no? Cuando tenés el personaje y tiene 3 símbolos activos, tenés 75% más de daño flat. Y es donde te conviene atacar. Después cuando se van consumiendo, te reposicionás. Y después cuando volvés a tener 3, atacás. Y es como un bufo que va teniendo un uptime. Cuando tenés los 3 símbolos, tenés más de daño y así funciona.
Which ends up being 100% increased damage. Fire damage actually gets converted to void, so this ends up being 12 void damage. You're going to get 20% crit chance per symbol, ends up being 80%.
Ah, y te da crítico también.
And also, you're going to end up with endurance threshold. This is going to be 300 endurance threshold, which is nice for your defense.
Y endurance te da para las defensas. Claro, vendrían a ser como las cargas, pero en vez de ser cargas por separado, tenés cargas y vos le vas dando en el árbol las tipo Frenzy, después le das tipo Power Charge y después le das tipo Endurance Charge. Y al final termina siendo como un aura que termina teniendo todo tipo de cargas. Para todo. Para más daño, más crítico y más resistencia física. Buenísimo. Alta ascendencia, la verdad, la de Void Knight. Va a estar súper OP.
It also just comes with some additional fire damage, which again gets converted to void, so you're going to...
O sea, que es la que me quiero hacer, pero bueno, esa es más en game.
Sí, esta es como también el playstyle. Es como de totems, pero tiene movilidad. No, el totem, viste que es más ir corriendo e ir dejando los totems. Y en esta es, vos tenés una habilidad que gira y dejás como si fuese una sombra tuya del personaje girando con una masa de 2 manos y te teletransportás a otro bicho y dejás otra que gira y teletransportás a otro bicho y dejás otra que gira y así, y la idea es ir mapeando y matando todo sin tocar nada, digamos, ¿no? Así funciona la build en
No,
endgame.
entonces es diferente la que me voy a hacer yo.
Mira. Pero debe tener mecánicas similares, que es lo que yo te estoy diciendo, porque es muy OP, ¿viste? La habilidad esta, Symbols of Hope, son como las Power Charge de las cargas del PoE y son muy OP, da mucho daño. Eso, seguramente la build va a estar armada alrededor de eso, ¿no?
To get a decent bit of added void damage. This one and this one are really powerful, and this one's a really good defensive thing. And you don't have to do anything for it, so it's just free. The next one is Devouring Orb. This could not work prior to 1.2. Prior to Season 2, this was not an option. What changed is Abyssal Rush, which now auto-casts while you're moving.
Claro. Y la build se... Es lo que yo te decía, viste, la habilidad principal del Void Knight, que era la que yo había elegido como para armar la build en la anterior, era una habilidad que la tenías que ir casteando y que se iban casteando unas pelotitas alrededor tuyo y que daban vueltas alrededor tuyo mientras corrías. Cada bicho que entraba o tocaba una de las bolitas lo asesinabas con daño de Void. Y ahora lo que cambiaron es que es como un autocasteo esa habilidad. Se autocastea cuando aplicas una habilidad de movilidad, que es la habilidad que yo te digo que vas a ir girando. Entonces, aparte de ir girando e ir dejando fantasmitas tuyos que dan vueltas, vas dejando la habilidad esa, que son los circulitos de Void.
So again, a skill you don't have to do anything. You just spec it and go. And from doing that, you're going to get 10% global more damage and 10% increased mana regen. Eventually, if you can get to 90+.
Claro, y eso no solo produce daño, sino que por cada huevito de estos que tenés, te da 10% más daño de Void. Y bueno, puedes hacer una conversión de todo el daño a Void. O sea que toda la build hace todo daño de Void. Y haces
Plus Vitality, which is not easy, but it's doable. This will go up to 20% and 20%. You will also get Void Essences, which are awesome. Void Essences are super powerful. Just to show you what they do, we got it here too. They're going to give you 3% more Void damage and 3% more melee damage. These are multiplicative with each other. So, like, it's not additive. That's better. And you can have a maximum of 3, so you get 9% and 9%. So double, effectively 10% multipliers. And to get those, all we need to do is Devouring Orb 4 points, and then 1 point in the passive tree over here, in essence at the end, and you'll essentially have it all of the time. So more multipliers is great. We're also going to be able to Void Shred from this, so you don't need to worry about getting Void Shred from another source. It's covered here, easy. The rest of this, the way it's set up, this is what I've ultimately found kind of felt the best as far as applying the most Void Res shred chance, but this is probably, you can play with this.
Claro, sí, me acuerdo que el problema siempre del Void Knight es que tenés que buscar la manera de hacerle shred a los enemigos para poder... O sea, tenés que romperle el armor para poder aplicarle más rápido el daño de Void, ¿viste? Porque es un daño que tiene que ir con penetración y toda esa movida, ¿no? Si el bicho tiene mucha vida y vos lo envenenás y le pegás el Void y no le haces nada, el bicho te puede matar igual mientras se está degenerando. Entonces, para acelerar el proceso siempre tenés que buscar la manera de romper el armor, ¿no? Hacer shred armor.
It might not actually be the ideal.
Siempre fue así, yo me acuerdo que era así antes.
But it's set up well enough to where you'll do well with it. What you can play with is you can just a chaotic torrent over this stuff over here if you want to, but I just found with the expiring, helping with the Bizzle Juggernaut, and then helping with Rending Maw, this was the one that worked the best for me. Anomaly was always in it. It still is. The big change I would say here is that we take the -3 cooldown on anticipation. I don't think we used to take that.
Anomalía, a ver, ¿cuál era la anomalía? Combo skill. Ah, lo que decía yo, la habilidad que teletransporta, que es la que cambiaron. Que ahora va para adelante hasta los enemigos y te puede, cuando la activas, si la activas, volver hacia atrás en el tiempo. Pero al principio es una habilidad que te transporta hacia el enemigo. Antes era al revés, vos ibas corriendo y le pegabas al enemigo y apretabas anomalía y volvías para atrás en el tiempo y el enemigo no te podía pegar porque hoy estabas muy lejos, pero te hacía ir más lento. Igual estaba buena, ¿eh? Yo, mi build se basaba en esas dos habilidades, ¿no? La Devouring Orb y anomalía, ¿no? Que te ibas para atrás y cuando los enemigos le hacías el cleave, le rompías el Shred Armor y les pegabas con las cositas, le dabas una vueltita alrededor y después apretabas la anomalía y ibas para atrás, y cuando volvías corriendo y pasabas por de vuelta por donde estaban los enemigos, ya se habían muerto porque obviamente el efecto del daño de Void era uno de los más fuertes del juego, ¿viste? Porque los enemigos suelen tener resistencia elemental. No tienen resistencia de Void.
I don't even know if it was actually there, but it is now. We definitely take that now. We get the 50% void damage taken, Mark of Rot. This used to say 100%. It was always apparently 50%, so we were getting, ripped off, but now we get 50%. Still really good. And then we're going to get some attack speed and cast speed out of this, and then we're going to do additional void res shreds, so you'll be absolutely guaranteed to get your 10 stacks on bosses when you hit your anomaly on them. So you hit anomaly on a tanky enemy, make sure you hit it on them so it gets Mark of Rot. Then you get your time bubble, and then you get your attack speed. You get additional void res shred.
Claro, y lo que produce también la anomalía es que si le pegás, dice que le generás a los bosses que tienen mucha vida un montón de efectos tipo power up para vos, y el boss queda como debufeado, y todo eso si le pegás con la anomalía. O sea que básicamente es una habilidad muy poderosa para utilizar.
On them, and you should kill them pretty quickly.
Los matas en un segundo si le pegas con eso.
And then we already mentioned Void Cleave. The setup currently, I might
Pablo, ya vengo.
Ok.
change it. Just keep an eye on this one, but I've currently set it up to where it gets some leech. I don't know how I feel about it because it's not that much leech, but the other option is to give it some armor shred, and that's not very good either.
Armor Shred, ahí va, en Cleave.
I can give an additional charge. Doesn't seem super important because we already get 2 because of the boots that we wear. Basically what I'm trying to say is whatever's over here is kind of inconsequential or close to inconsequential, and this is doing all the work. So you're getting the traversal skill, you're getting distance on it, you're getting the increased cooldown recovery. This actually is important. And you're getting some mana back, which isn't really also that important, but really this is kind of doing the work here. This node.
Bueno, ya más o menos lo tenemos. Acá va a explicar un par de cosas de los ítems.
This node and this node, because it's just a traversal skill. That's all we're using this for. You could literally take this off your bar and you'd still be fine. But if you want to move a little bit faster, Void Cleave does it. And we're going to actually take that out in another version that we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, let's talk about the passives. So this is a pretty standard setup for Sentinel, the base class, at least for me.
Sí.
The big thing that is, we'll take it later. Remember to use this bar down here to track the pathing. I have set this up to be optimal or somewhat optimal depending on the player as far as which nodes you should take late or earlier and later, and Blade Master's taking quite a bit later. But we start here. We're going to take some nodes in Void Knight up to about here, and then we're going to switch over to Paladin. Let's talk about some of the big nodes that we're taking here. World Eater, super important. This is your leech. Not your only leech, but a large portion of your leech. Void Corruption gives a ton of crit multi with some crit chance. Void and Fizz damage -5 taken is new to Abyssal Endurance. That's great. It was already a great node. Now it's an even better node. Woe is a solid node with frailty and slow chances given to you, but also Void Pen's nice. Singular Purpose is really good. This is now a 10%, or excuse me, a 20% multiplier because we end up with less than 30% block chance. And -5 damage taken from slow damage, and -5 damage taken from time rotting enemies. Those are also multiplicative of each other, so you get both. So this is insanely good. We also have a new one, Abyssal Fluctuation. It's insanely good. -20% void damage taken, elemental damage taken as void. Remember, we also have -5 void damage taken over here. So we have a 20 and a 5, and half of that applies to elemental as well. This really helps to make you tanky. Mortal Cleave now is a 5% base crit, and it also does give you a...
Decíamos en un principio, el personaje se luce mucho en que, bueno, nos vamos a hacer super tanques con la ascendencia de Void Knight, ¿no? Que nos va a dar endurance, nos va a dar mucha... Aparte de mucha posibilidad de multiplicadores de daño, también nos va a dar mucha supervivencia. Entonces vamos a tener un personaje que va a hacer increíblemente daño e increíblemente tanque, que es exactamente lo que estamos buscando para arrancar una season, ¿no? Un primer personaje, y va a ser una experiencia dentro de todo bastante lineal, no vas a tener tantos problemas de supervivencia.
Of your clearing, and will be up for any bosses that have minions. So this is a good node. It's not an amazing node, but it's good enough to where we can not worry about crit chance elsewhere and put some points into other things. And then Echoing Strikes, Time Legion, and Avatar Revet are the same as they used to be. This increases your ability to echo and Warpath, which you can't do unless you take not Apocalypse Sword, unless you take Echo Knight. This allows Warpath to echo, and then those nodes are turned on, which you will have by just following the guide. Okay, let's talk about the Paladin side. We take the Paladin side to get Symbols of Hope. They're still good nodes, but that's the primary reason why we're over here. So we take Defiance, 5 points in that, gives us 15% elemental res, and then Endurance Threshold for 2 uncapped LA res is just a nice little bonus. And then we take Valor. This gives us 20% full endurance and 120.
Vamos a ponerlo acá en el Discord.
Pablo, no tengo los auriculares puestos, pero se largó a llover acá, no, por las piedritas del gato, te digo. Este, ahora voy al baño y vengo. Ahí volví.
Llueve.
20 health. This is a really good node. Just generally a very good node to have. And that gets us our symbols of hope. Okay, let's talk about the equipment on this side, and then we'll talk about the kind of sort of variant. We'll start with blessings, because they're kind of easy to talk about. Crit multi. This can also be void damage, that's good, but crit multi is better if you have all the crit. If you don't have like a lot of crit chance, you don't have like the base crit, like from Clothos Needle and from the passive tree, then this is actually better as void damage, but it's not a huge difference. You can get either one. But once you've got the crit multi is better. Grand Rhythm of the Tide was always a solid choice. It's gotten even a little bit better. With a 200% increased health regen, plus 20 health regen. And then we can now get health regen base on rings. So that makes us even more powerful. And you can see in here we have 300 health regen, which is way more than we would have gotten before. That is really good for scenarios to where you have to run away from some things and you cannot leech for a short period of time. This will give you some sort of regen to keep you going. Not super important for the build, but it's a nice little extra that we have even more of this season if you get the health regen in your rings. Grand Resolve of Humanity is just great. 20% all res. Excellent. There's not much to say about that. And then Grand Patience of Hercur has been nerfed multiple times and is still excellent. 650 armor while channeling is a lot of armor. Combine that with Bulwark of the Tundra and other sources of armor. This is not accurate. This does not include Grand Patience of Hercur or some other things, and also his armor mitigation number is low. It's not accurate either right now. It's something that hopefully will be fixed soon. We're actually much closer to like 75 or more. I think 85 is the top end, whatever it is. We have a lot of armor mitigation from this, and you're going to see that if you get this kind of setup, you're also going to take that armor mitigation, and it's all going to count towards dots as well, which is absolutely insane in this game. Easily the best dot mitigation in the game is Sentinel right now. It's not even close. And dots have been nerfed, but it's still really powerful to have that. So that's our blessings. Let's talk about our just general gear. So Null Portent is not like super important. You can't even get this until Aberoth, base Aberoth. Don't worry too much about it. +4 Warpath and increased health and vitality. If you can get a nice, just like Exalted with that, that'll take you a long, long way. And then eventually get it on Null Portent, and you'll be blasting. Clotho's Needle is new. This used to be the axe that I can never remember the name of. For some reason, Apathy's Maw, even though I put it on this build every single time. It used to be Apathy's Maw. Apathy's Maw is still good here, and now you can guarantee the melee crit chance so that you can build for crit, which makes it even easier to get. And I am going to be going for Apathy's Maw first. You'll actually see I have a mid-game section that I'll talk about in the leveling, where it's in the mid-game uniques. But for end game, your goal is to get the Clotho's Needle. It's got the added melee crit chance, that's now covered. You don't need to get that elsewhere. 180 melee damage, 11 strength, and then you will get some benefit from the melee crit multi per meter from the target, especially with your echoes. It's just stronger. It's just stronger from base stats, and it's also a Weaver's Will item, and so you're going to be able to probably get more total tiers on this than you would be able to get on most legendaries. That does mean you're going to have to farm this, and you're going to have to get lucky. But if you can get melee void damage and increase melee attack speed, this is awesome. And if you happen to get Shred or Void Pen on it as well, you've got an insanely good weapon. That's just gonna, it's just, I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just so good. Something.
Bueno, ahí ya tenemos nuestra arma principal. Va a haber que farmear, dijo, va a haber que tener suerte para conseguir una. Vamos a ver qué sale. Bueno, ahí está el video. Vamos
Things
a
that
seguir
coming
mirando
back
un poquito.
from last season, in fact, most of these I would say, Dark Stride is how you get a lot of.
¿Cómo?
¿Escuchaste lo que te dije de la lluvia?
No, ¿qué pasó?
Que está lloviendo.
Ah, sí, yo tuve suerte hoy. Acá está lloviendo hace bastante ya. Y cuando fui a cerrar la ventana a la tarde, ya cayeron un par de gotitas. Así que ya había entrado todo. Aparte, cuando fui a comprar estaba todo nublado, pero mal. Muy nublado. La Caster, gracias por el follow. Sí, gracias igual, Trelion. Gracias. Se, se agradece. Yo ya estaba cerrando el stream, ¿viste? Porque voy a ir a comer. Me puse a hervir unas verduras, ¿viste? Tengo la plancha ya como para tirar un churrasco, así que mientras se hace el churrasco ya voy a tener todo apagado, si voy a ir a comer. Una lástima porque me faltan unos 10 minutitos para terminar el video, pero bueno, voy a ir cerrando. Mañana vamos con todo con el ACPOC.